Suppose you were in a room with the utility monster, a being who feels infinite happiness if it can be kept alive and infinite agony if destroyed. You have the option of either killing the monster and saving humanity at the expense of infinite pain to it, or keeping it alive, thereby saving it from the torture but definitely allowing the extinction of the human race. What would you do? In essence, this is a modified version of the trolley problem. Imagine that there is a runaway trolley careening toward 5 people who are tied to a rail track. You are standing beside a lever that will divert the trolley down a different track where 1 person is tied up. Will you pull the lever, sacrificing 1 to save 5? Or do you do nothing, avoiding intentional harm but allowing 5 to perish? This thought experiment usually splits people along 2 major ethical theories: deontology and utilitarianism. Deontology. Deontology puts weight on moral rules and duty, and centers on acts instead of consequences. One of the most popular and influential deontological theories has been proposed by the philosopher Immanuel Kant through the categorical imperative. According to it, one ought to act only under the maxims which, when applied universally, would not result in absurdity or contradiction. Example: stealing is wrong because if all stole, then the notion of property will break down completely, and therefore stealing will be an impossible thing. The action itself contradicts in universalization. The trolley problem applied to deontology. To the deontologist, the action of pulling the lever itself is a violation of the rule not to harm people intentionally. They might say that it is wrong to use the 1 person merely as a means to saving the 5. The deontologist does nothing therefore, and the outcome is tragic, but the moral rule has been followed. Utilitarianism. In contrast, utilitarianism, particularly act utilitarianism, concerns the maximization of well-being and minimization of suffering. This view regards an action only in terms of its consequences, and is distributively neutral. In other words, all that matters to this system is the total outcome. No special cases are allowed, whether to individuals, groups, or the majority. The trolley problem applied under the utilitarian view. A utilitarian wants to save 5 lives because their well-being outweighs the well-being of 1. Pulling the lever reduces total pain and increases the balance of well-being. So following the utilitarian view will cause 1 to divert the trolley to the track where the 1 person is situated. Now back to the utility monster. Finally, immediately we see how this dilemma presses both systems. The deontologist's dilemma. Being consistent, the deontologist may not act. The monster's destruction would violate the duty not to harm regardless of consequences. Allowing humanity to die is tragic but does not involve the use of humanity as a means to an end. Therefore, the deontologist would do nothing and let humanity and the monster face destruction. This is an inherent fault or an unfavorable consequence of following the deontological principles described by Kant. The utilitarian's choice. To the utilitarian, the choice is easier to make. Allowing the monster to live stops its infinite suffering and produces infinite pleasure. The destruction of humanity, though horrible, is calculable and so therefore outweighed by the infinite well-being of the monster. The utilitarian would spare the monster, taking the greater balance of pleasure over suffering as the ideal state of the universe or of our morality. The limits of ethical theories. This thought experiment brings out a tension between these systems, in that deontology can lead to rigid outcomes that overlook the broader consequences, while utilitarianism can demand extreme sacrifices for the greater good, even at the cost of humanity. This video is made to introduce you to 2 popular but classical normative ethical systems and to highlight their hypothetical limits. If you'd like to see more videos on the topic of morality and ethics in relation to philosophical discussions in the future, be sure to like and subscribe, as it will really help.